What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Talkin Sports with Jake. Hope we're doing well. So today I'm going to continue my NFL Offseason Series, and then we are going to get into my, I'm going to rank my top 32 NFL quarterbacks from this season, from 1 to 32, well, 32 to 1. First team up today for the NFL Offseason Series is the New England Patriots. Of course, it was a rough year for the Patriots. Won, 3-4 games? Pretty much what they expected. There weren't many expectations going into the year. But they also found their new head coach with Mike Vrabel. They got Gerard Mayo, and that just horrid staff out of there. You bring in Mike Vrabel to be the head coach. Josh McDaniels is back for his third sit in New England as offensive coordinator. He brings in an old friend to be the defensive coordinator, the D-line coach from Detroit, who was his coordinator in Tennessee, or was on his staff in Tennessee. Brought him with him, and also, you drafted Drake May last year. Thought overall he flashed some brilliance in his rookie season. They got to help him out. So, I have him going on a bit of a spending spree in free agency. This is what I would do. Unless what's going to happen for all these teams. First of all, the Patriots could come in with $119 million in cap space. Remember, the cap just increased a lot. The cap just increased by like $20 million. It's increased $53 million over the last 2 years. The salary cap in the NFL has gone up like over $20 million to, I think, so like between 277 and 281 for the that's the league cap. So every team gets that much more money. You know, you think, all right, 20 divided amongst all the teams, every team gets a little bit more money than they originally were supposed to have. So, and also, you just drafted the quarterback. You know, it's important to help the young quarterback out. That's how you develop a quarterback. And also, you know, you think, all right, in 2 or 3 years, we'll have to pay him. And when you pay the quarterback, a lot of times, you know, windows start to close with how much you have to pay the quarterback and the percentage of the cap that they take up. Look at the Bengals. Joe Burrow's amazing. He's worth that $250 million deal. But now, you know, they weren't able to keep, you know, a lot of those playmakers on defense. You know, like Jesse Bates, a little pro safety. Weren't able to keep Joe Mixon. They weren't able to keep Orlando Brown, the offensive line. Now they might not be able to keep T. Higgins and Trey Hendrickson. And even Jamar Chase needs an extension. So, it's important that, I think it's important the Patriots are aggressive in free agency. They have the ability to be aggressive in free agency. Plus, you have the third pick in the draft. You have a lot of draft picks. Including the third pick in this year's draft. I know not usually like them to go on a huge spending spree. And they had a lot of cap space last year and didn't really use it as much. We're not as aggressive as people thought they were going to be, but it's important. Now you have a legit possible franchise quarterback. You got a legit coach in there. You know, you have to actually, you know, make some progress in this rebuild. And the clock starts now for them. So, the only move I really have to make when it comes to getting rid of the player, they don't really have to make any cap casualties necessarily. I have them moving on from David Andrews. I think they'll trade him away. He's getting older, Andrews, for sure. He's on the back end of his career. He's still a decent starting center. If he's healthy, can be maybe an average starting center in the league. He's at the end of his career. You had Cole Strange play a lot of center this past year because Andrews was hurt. He's had some health problems in recent years. He's been there a while. He was a great Patriot. I'm sure he was a great mentor and a great leader. But I just think it's time. They can do better. There's just no point of you. I had them upgrading, so there's no point of you keeping him at the salary he was at. He wasn't making an extraordinary amount, but, you know, your backup center shouldn't really be making much of anything. You know, centers usually are pretty durable for the most part. So if you're the backup center, you're not really playing much. So maybe you come in on special teams or something like that. So I think you trade him away. Someone, you know, get a late round pick back for him. You save like $4.5 million against the cap by doing that. You don't need to, but you know, it's, you know, you get a pick back for a guy you probably don't need anymore, and you save almost $4.5 million. And so speaking of the offensive line, let's jump right into that. They need to address this offensive line. They had maybe the worst line in the league last year. It was one of the worst. It was absolutely horrible. Outside of Michael Lennon, the right tackle, it was bad. It was you had Cole Strange, who was a guy who Bill Belichick reached for at guard a couple of years ago, playing center, and you have, you know, it was musical chairs at tackle. A lot of guys, just unproven guys who really should be starting late, like, you know, Vidarian Lowe and City Sal playing meaningful snaps, and it was very ugly. Drake May was under duress the whole season. I think it's why he didn't start week 1. He got in that game late against the Jets in like week 5, and he started in week 6 or 7 or whatever it was. I think because that line was just so bad. They're like, we can't throw him back there. And eventually, the offensive percent was just so stale. Like, all right, let's see what this kid's got. So they got to address tackle first. Right tackle is pretty set with Michael Wenning. He's under contract for 2 more years. The left side is not set. You got to protect Drake May's blind side, so go and get Cam Robinson. Something like 3 years, $45 million. Robinson is coming off an injury, so it's a little scary, but he's developed into a very good offensive lineman, a very good tackle. He was mainly with the Jacksonville Jaguars. He finished last year with the Minnesota Vikings. Jaguars traded him to the Vikings at the trade deadline. He's very good. Again, I guess he's coming off an injury. It's a little scary, but he's been mostly healthy for most of his career. He was a guy who was I was high kind of coming out, kind of surprised me to the second round of the draft 5 or 6 years ago. Jacksonville took him, and he's turned into a very good offensive lineman. He's way better. Vidarian Lowe playing, and whoever the hell they had playing left tackle last year. So you bring him in, addressing the guard spot. I think they should go out and get Kevin Zeitler. This will probably be a 1-year deal. It'll be a short-term deal because he is older, but he's very good. He's always been a great pass blocker. That's kind of declined a little bit in recent year, but he's still a good pass blocker. He's developed into now one of the best run blockers in the entire league, especially when it comes to guards. I'm sure the Patriots are going to run the ball somewhat. I mean, I hope Mike Grable doesn't run the offense like it's the Titans, because they do not have Derrick Henry, and Drake May is definitely a better talent than Ryan Tannehill. But they just still run the ball a decent amount. He is still a young quarterback. He doesn't even have a full season worth of starts yet. Still a young team. They are, under Mike Grable, you are going to win games by, probably playing some strong defense at the end of the day. So they should have a pretty solid run game. Go and get Kevin Zeitler. Probably pay him about $10 million. You definitely need another guard for sure. I'm not sure what you do with the other guard spot. Remember, they could go O-line with that first-round draft pick. They have I think I said the 3rd pick earlier. I apologize. They have the 4th pick in the draft, right behind the New York Giants, and then Browns and Titans, obviously. So they could take Will Campbell in the 1st round. Maybe you do that. Maybe you could save the $15 million on Cam Robinson and spend that somewhere else. Save it for next year. You could, you could move Campbell to guard. There's talks about him maybe moving him to guard. Some GMs are thinking that might not be a bad idea. That maybe that's an option. So, but Zeitler, and then I think they should go out and get Ryan Kelly, from long-term Indianapolis Colts center. He's got some intricate concerns of his own as well, but he's been mostly healthy recently. He's a little bit older. He's been in the league like 10, 11, 12 years, so he's probably going to be on a short-term deal. But give him $11 million, $10, $11 million a year, maybe on a 1 or 2 year deal. And now you look at that line. You have Robinson and Owen as your tackles. You have Zeitler at guard. You put Ryan Kelly next to him. The only real weak spot is at the other guard spot with Cole Strange. A left guard, but with 1 weak spot you can live with. Plus, again, they have that 4th pick. They can take Will Campbell and move him inside. Maybe you play him on the right side or left side and move Robinson to the right side. You could move Michael Wenning inside. There's not, this guard class isn't super highly talented this year. There are a couple of tackles that were tackles in college that might become guards eventually in the NFL, but true guards, at least that were in college, aren't too many of them, but they can still find somebody in the 2nd round, especially since they're going to have a high pick in the 2nd and the 3rd round. So I'm not really too worried about that. And moving on, they need a number 1 wide receiver. I think they should go out and get T. Higgins. There's been a lot of talk about it. I think they should throw a lot of money at this guy. I think he'll garner close to $30 million. He'll probably get a 4-year deal, longer-term deal. I know the Bengals are looking to tag him. I really don't think he's going to play on the tag. I don't see him. Higgins, when healthy, is to me at least a top 12, 13, if not 10 receiver in the league. He's phenomenal. He's obviously been number 2 in Cincinnati because of how good Jamar Chase is. But Higgins is really freaking good. I think he could be a number 1 on a lot of teams. I think he could be one for the New England Patriots. I think that'd be a really nice fit for Drake May's number 1 option. You look at the receiving core, it's like, oh, this might be the worst receiving core in the league. But then you add a guy like T. Higgins, he doesn't look so bad. He's really good. Look, all right, born as a 3, you can live with. And then you look at, Jalen Polk was really bad last year. But, like, coming out, I liked him coming out. They took him in the second round. I thought he was right where he should have been drafted. He was a solid 2 or 3 in his league. I don't think he should be that bad. I think with some better coaching, and then Drake and just some overall being in the better offense, the better quarterback play, he has to get at least a little bit better, right? He literally can't get any worse. Demario Douglas, I'm not sold on some Patriots fans. Think that guy's just to be really good. Don't see as much as they do, but he's not like a scrub. I mean, he could be a 3, maybe a 2. So all of a sudden, it doesn't look so bad if you bring in T. Higgins. And again, they could draft a receiver. They can get one of these guys in the second or third round. The receiver class is not as stacked as it's been in past years, but there'll be a bunch to go in the first round. They can find a solid piece in the second or third round. So all I need. You have a good tight end, Hunter Henry. So that's kind of all you really need. So you sign T. Higgins makes the big difference. They gotta sign one of these guys, whether it's, and if they have to trade for him, I would trade for him. Like you're not gonna have to give up the 4th pick. Give him a second round pick. Give him a 2 and a 4 for T. Higgins. I would do a 2 and a 4 and then give him the money. I think that's worth it. You got to give Drake May the number 1 receiver, and they have that for the foreseeable future with T. Higgins. And then staying on the offensive side of the ball before we jump over to the other side of the ball. They need an upgrade at running back. Ramondre Stevenson really struggled last year. I always thought the contract was a little bit premature, that extension that he got. That 4-year, $32 million extension. This year he's making $5.3 million. So it's not truly really kicking in until next year. So I get, it's going to be difficult, but having him, and you do still have Antonio Gibson on the roster. You gave him an extension last year. Both those guys have some serious ball control issues. And again, I think Ramondre is a really good goal line back. I think Gibson is a guy who's a good pass catcher, a good athlete. He can return kicks a little bit. But I don't think Ivers a 3-down back truly. So I'm actually surprised that they invested so much money into the 2 of those guys. Go out and sign Aaron Jones. He's by far the best running back available in free agency. The draft class is definitely better than the free agency class when it comes to running backs. Again, they could have got a guy like Cam Scatterbo in the second or the third round. Maybe he slips to the 4th. Maybe a guy like Omari, and they won't get Ashton Jensen. No way he slips past, even the middle of the first round. But a guy like Omari and Hampton very easily could be a first-round pick. In my the first mock I did, I had him going towards the back end of the first round. There's a chance like a slips to the second or third round. You never know with these backs, but going on Aaron Jones, he's a little bit older for a running back, but he's still very good. He had over 1,100 yards this year. He's still a very good back when the guy's healthy. He's still a good runner, especially behind the sideline line. He's still a good pass catcher. He's, to me, always kind of an underrated back. Was very good in Green Bay for a while. Overall was good in Minnesota last year. Didn't you feel like the way you kind of think the guy fell off? He really didn't. Minnesota just sort of pass first offense under Kevin O'Connell. I assume Patriots are going to throw the ball at least a little bit, obviously, when you have a quarterback like Drake May, that potential. But Mike Vrabel as your head coach, you're going to run the ball at least a little bit. So go and get Aaron Jones. Give Drake May a legit running game. All of a sudden, you have Jones as your back. You have T. Higgins and the rest of that receiving core. A revamped line. All of a sudden, year 2 in Drake May, what he has around doesn't look so bad. So that's why I'm doing the offensive side of the ball. And then defensive side of the ball, I actually think overall they have some nice pieces. They had a bunch of guys that were out last year. Barmore up front had some heart problems last year. Didn't really play much at all last year. Bentley didn't really play at all. That really hurt them, especially in the run game. Obviously, Matt Judon was like, I want a contract. They couldn't figure it out. They had to end up trading him to the Atlanta Falcons, so that really hurt their pass rush. That was right before the season. You had Christian Gonzalez coming off an injury, so just Gerard Mayo being a buffoon of a head coach didn't help either, obviously. But I think if they're healthy, they should be better. You got Barmore and Gacho up front. A guy like a Kean White coming off the edge. Bentley and what's his name? Anthony, whatever his name is. I won't say Anthony Sounds. That's obviously a basketball player. So you had Anthony Jennings at linebacker. Christian Gonzalez is obviously an all-pro corner. Kyle Duggar at safety. Even Jabril Peppers isn't a bad player, versatile piece. There's pieces on this defense, but I think you need one more good cover guy. Gonzo's amazing. The problem when you have a guy like Christian Gonzalez who shuts down, shuts down the guy he's on every single time. If you don't really have anybody on the other side of him, their teams are not going to throw on him. So let's fix that. Go and get Byron Murphy. You are going to have to pay him a lot. He is a very good corner. He's a former, I think he was a second rounder by Arizona. He's gotten better every year that he's been in the league. He was in Minnesota I think either last year or the year before. He's turned into a very good corner, very good in coverage. You're going to have to probably pay him on a longer-term deal for probably north of $20 million a year, but think about it. Now for the foreseeable future, Christian Gonzalez and Byron Murphy as your corner tandem, it doesn't get better than that. Go out and sign him. If you'll be able to cover for a lot longer, that'll help the pass rush. Again, there's a lot of good pass rushers available. If you take care of your O-line and the receiver for the most part in free agency, maybe in the draft you take if I don't think Abdul Carr will get the 4, but if he does, first of all, him with Mike Vrabel would be frightening. And take a guy like a Mason Graham or one of these guys. He'll move back and get like a James Pierce or a Mike Green, and then get some extra picks. There's options available, so go and get Byron Murphy. And I do have them signing one pass rusher, DeMarcus Lawrence. Lawrence is getting older. He's missed a lot of time last year. Only played 4 games. And he's had injuries in the past, but prior to last year, he had really quieted the injury bug. He's not a big sack guy. He hasn't had the double-digit sacks in like 6 or 7 years. But he's a 4-time Pro Bowler for a reason. He's a very disruptive player. He's able to get to the quarterback, disrupt the quarterback. He's one of the best in the league at batting the ball down at the line of scrimmage. A little older, but again, on a short-term deal, a 1 or 2 year deal for $12, $13 million a year. He's a very impactful player. I don't see him going back to Dallas. Dallas is cap-strapped. Jerry's operating on Jerry time, obviously. So go and get DeMarcus Lawrence. So if you land, and we've seen teams, go sign 7, 8, 9 guys in free agency because they have $100 million in cap space. If you spend it well, all of a sudden you're set up really well for the future. If you don't spend it well, you're kind of screwed. I think if Patriots do something like this is money well spent. And next year, hypothetically, they may still have some money left over because they would still have like almost $30 million left over in cap space and do something else. Like, or to trade for a piece like a Cooper Kupp or something like that. They have these other things that they could do. But that's how I'll do for the New England Patriots. Moving on to the Baltimore Ravens. So the Ravens, I think the first thing they should do, they should probably convert some of Lamar Jackson's salary, play around with his contract, because they only come in with like $7 or $8 million in cap space. There's really no one you could really cut. Like Justin Tucker, his extension is like not really even kicked in yet. You're not gonna have to trade him with all the stuff going on with him. I'm not gonna comment on that any further until we know more about the situation. The one guy you could cut is Rashad Bateman. You could clear his $5.1 million salary, which would be helpful for sure, but he did have the best year of his career. He had 45 catches. He had, I think, over 700 yards and 9 touchdowns. Look, for a former first-round pick, he has been a bit disappointing. But he showed last year that he's enough of a deep threat, enough of a red zone threat that he can be like a solid 3 for you. Again, you didn't draft him to be a 3. They also gave him a 2-year extension last year. Not for a ton of money, but at the same time, I don't think they would do that. And they should probably try and keep him if they can. But, they should probably keep him. And as for the Ravens, they need another receiver. They've needed a number 2 receiver basically since they drafted Lamar Jackson. You drafted Hollywood Brown. He was really the only legit threat you had. Then he didn't want to be there anymore, so you trade him away to the Arizona Cardinals. Of course, now he's bounced around the league since then. He was in Kansas City last year. And then, you drafted Zay Flowers 2 years ago. He's been great his first 2 years, but you just haven't had that, that other piece. So I think they should go out and sign Stephon Diggs. I don't think Diggs' market's going to be as big as people say it is. He's caused issues wherever he's been. I mean, you saw him. He was visibly pissed off at the end of his tenure in Minnesota. He caused a lot of drama, obviously, in Buffalo. The back half of his last year in Buffalo, he did not perform up to standard. He was playing very well last year before he got hurt, but it was still not quite the guy he was 2 or 3 years ago. He's going to be, like, I think 31 or 32. He's coming off a major injury. I don't see him being this, legit all-pro threat that he was a couple of years ago. But if he's healthy, I still think he's a good receiver, can be an excellent number 2 option. I think you can get him for, like, I think he'll take a 1-year deal. He'll probably try. I think see him taking like a lucrative 1-year deal for 14 or 15 million, trying to have the best year we can, and then trying to get a more lucrative multi-year deal next year. So, he signed Stephon Diggs. Give Lamar Jackson another legit threat on the outside. Zay's more of a slot guy. They give him a legit guy on the outside, especially with that running game. That looks really nice. I also think they should make a move on the offensive line. Lamar is so special, obviously, when it comes to running, that you can kind of get away with having kind of a little bit of a shaky line. Ronnie Stanley, your left tackle, is a free agent. I do think that they should try to re-sign him, but I think it's going to be tough. He's going to have suitors. They're little cap strapped. Again, if they play around with Lamar's contract, they can create some more cap space, maybe to sign him. But you do have other needs as well. So Ravens, when it comes to developing talent, are as good as it gets in this league. So I just feel like, why throw a bag at 29-year-old Ronnie Stanley, who has quite the injury concerns the last 2 years, but in the past they do exist in the past. Why do that if you can bring in somebody else and still survive with that, or draft some kid? And last year you drafted Roger Rosegar in the second round, just threw him out there, and then he was a Pro Bowler in his first season at right tackle. I could see them trying to do something like that. I haven't signed Tyron Smith for a year for $8 million. Look, he had some injuries last year with the Jets. He's very injury prone. He's bound to miss games. He's toward the end of his career. He is still a good left tackle. He had some penalty issues last year. He did not perform super well for the Jets last year, but when he's healthy, he is still one of the better left tackles in the league. I would say he can be a little bit undisciplined, but also the Jets have had discipline issues on their offensive line for many years. That's not new. I just think the coaching. I just think they're poorly coached. I think going to a place where there's gonna be much better coach on when it comes to the offensive line. I think that will help him with the discipline issues that he had last year. He did take 6 penalties despite missing quite a few games last year. But I think he's still a good left tackle. And again, you don't need to have the Eagles off the line when your quarterback is Lamar Jackson. You simply don't need that. And Ravens are trying to get over the hump. Obviously, you have Lamar Jackson, you have Derrick Henry right back. If you add Diggs, then that makes your offense, I think, really dynamic. You add Tyron Smith, you have Rose Garden on the other side. You have a great center in Linderbaum. The guards aren't great. They leave a little bit to be desired. Patrick McCarr, wasn't great last year as a free agent, and their other guard, Mason McCormick, wasn't great last year either. But again, they can take a guard in the second round, throw him out there, and they'll find a way to make him a really good player, known to Ravens. And they're up against the cap. I think defensively, I know secondary was a little bit iffy last year, but I think they can take a corner in the first round. Humphrey's still a great player. Nate Wiggins is the next one slot guy. You have 2 great savers of Kyle Hamilton and Marcus Williams. Especially Kyle Hamilton, I could see him being an extension candidate. Kyle Hamilton, he's got a couple years left on his deal. We'll see if they decide to extend him. He's got 2 years left on his deal, so see if they try and lock him up. But I do think that defensively, I think they'll be just fine. And you have Kyle Van Noy's a really good player, had 12.5 sacks last year. You had 10 from Odafe Owa. Yeah, they could use a little more than that, but still waiting on David Ohabo. I loved him coming out of Michigan. The torn Achilles, at the combine has really derailed his career, unfortunately. You have Matt Buki in the middle, who wasn't enough. Like, 14 sacks the year before, but still was still an all-pro caliber defensive tackle, and so I think they will be just fine. And to me, they're pretty head and shoulders in that division, just because Pittsburgh is just stuck in their ways. They're never going to be more than a team that just barely sneaks into the playoffs and is not going to go on a deep run. And then just Cleveland is just an utter mess right now over there, and the Bengals are a talented team, but just they have so many decisions to make and not enough money to make them. So, moving on, the last thing I'm going to cover today is the Pittsburgh Steelers. So Pittsburgh actually has like $55 million in cap space. So they have money to make moves. They're so set in the way, so they probably won't do this. But I think the pathway to fielding a contender isn't that hard. Problem is, obviously, they've been stuck in quarterback purgatory not even since Ben retired. Even Ben's last year, he wasn't very good, so you've been stuck in quarterback purgatory for like a solid 5 years now. Now you tried it. You took a chance on Kenny Pickett in the first round. It did not work. Last year you went and brought in Russell Wilson and Justin Fields. Fields was playing pretty well. You just had to bench him for Russell Wilson once he got healthy. Didn't work out. They're probably just going to run it back with Russell Wilson. I don't think they should. I don't think that guy has a whole lot left. But honestly, I don't think it's the worst idea ever to sign Aaron Rodgers for a year. He won't be available most likely until June, because just probably going to make him a June 1st cut. But it could be something you did it with Russell Wilson. Russ is an older quarterback who may not be, an MVP caliber quarterback or, an MVP caliber quarterback anymore. But, maybe in the better situation, could look a little bit better than he did in New York. If now, second year off of a torn Achilles, maybe with a better offensive line. You can get him on a 1-year deal for probably not too much money, because the Jets will still have to pay him, a bunch. So, he'll be willing to take, a cheap 1-year deal. So, and to be honest, this is really the only place Rodgers should retire. I don't think he has that much left, though, compared to what his numbers say he does, necessarily. But going to a better team, with a better coach. The offense is, on paper, just probably have better weapons. But the offensive line is probably a little better than Pittsburgh. Defense, just defense on paper should be better than it was last year, but certainly Pittsburgh is certainly better than the New York Jets defense. So maybe in that situation, if he's healthy, he's a little better. Might be a bad idea to try it for a year, because they don't have especially in this quarterback class. There's no point of taking quarterback in the first round. So it's actually not a bad idea. I think that's what might happen. It's not, I don't see him giving too much to any team. He's 41 years old. He torn Achilles in the rearview mirror. Just all like the extra, just the extra spotlight that he brings with him. I'm not sure if it's even worth it. But I think it's something that Pittsburgh might do. And I do think he's got more left for taking than Russell Wilson. Russ, I don't really think has much at all. Rodgers doesn't have that much either, but probably a little more than Russell Wilson. So maybe go and get him. They desperately need a number 2 receiver. First of all, they're going to make sure they keep George Pickens happy. That guy's a head case, but he's a very good receiver. Go and get a guy like Cooper Kupp. I think that they should go and trade for Cooper Kupp. You would have to. He's got a $20 million salary. That's a little rich, but I do think the Rams will pay down some of that. Give him a 3rd-round pick, something like that. Kupp is getting older. He's got some injury problems, especially lately, but I think he's still a good receiver. You go ahead and you put him next to George Pickens with Pat Freiermuth. I think that's a really good move. And then I think they should take a look at the offensive line. They gave them the 9th most sacks in the league last year. Part of that might have been from the majority of the year. You had Russell Wilson, who just isn't the same scrambler that he was 4 or 5 years ago, obviously. I think Austin Corbett would be a nice move. A little bit older, but he's a very solid guard, one of the better guards in the league. He's bounced around the league. He was in Cleveland. He was in Carolina. He had a very good year last year in Carolina. If you go out and sign him maybe for a year for $12, $13 million, I think that would be a very good move. You look at their line, they've been kind of trying to build piece by piece. You've drafted 2 tackles in recent years in Broderick Jones and Troy Fatano. I think those 2 kids are only going to get better with more experience. So you have those 2 kids. You have Isaac Samuel was a great pickup last year. He's a really good guard. Now you bring in another solid guard with Austin Corbett. He can play guard. He can play center. You can choose where you want to play him. And also if you're going to sign Aaron Rodgers, you need a elite offensive line because he is a statue at this point in his career. He used to be a good scrambler 4 or 5 years ago. No longer. So you do that. Invest in the offensive line. And then I think one more move they should make. I think they need one more corner. I like Jay Porter a lot. I think he's a really good cover corner. I think Steelers fans hype him up like he's Deion Sanders sometimes. That's a little bit of a stretch, but he is a very good cover corner. Minka's a great safety. But go and get a guy like Charvarius Ward. After all the stuff he had with his family, really sad family stuff they had, if he's going to want to get as far away from Stanford as possible, Pittsburgh is an outlet for that. Obviously, San Francisco is in California. You're on the West Coast. You come all the way to the East Coast to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and he goes to a place that at least has a solid culture. Charvarius Ward probably will have to pay him a good amount of money on a 3 or 4 year deal, probably close $16, $17 million a year. But you sign him. It's already really talented defense, obviously up front with T.J. Watt, who's obviously amazing, Alex Highsmith and Cameron Hayward on that D line. Now you pair Ward with So Joey Porter and Minka Fitzpatrick, that defense is going to be ferocious next year. And look, I guess I would try with Aaron Rodgers, honestly, just to see what happens. And then one more move they should make, I think they should take a chance on Nick Chubb. I don't know what he's going to give you. He's much older for a running back. He obviously missed a lot of games last year, coming off that just really brutal broken leg from the year before, and then he kind of battled injuries throughout the season last year. He didn't look great. The Browns' O-line last year was really bad. Dealt with injuries. Pittsburgh has a better offensive line than Cleveland. They're better coach. He won't cost a lot. I think a year for $4 or $5 million. He won't get much more than that. This is still a guy who 2 or 3 years ago was arguably the best running back in the entire NFL. And remember, this is a guy who had torn ACL his last year at Georgia, which pushed him out in the first round. And he made teams regret it. Early in his career, he tore his ACL again. This isn't good. And then for like 6, 7, 8 years, the guy was just maybe the best pure running back in the entire league. Obviously, he had that really just grueling broken leg, 2 seasons ago. He missed the start of the year last year, and then never really got into true form. The injury kind of lingered throughout the year and just had no offensive line. But I think with a better line, maybe he won't lead the league in rushing for sure. But I think he could be a serviceable back. Steelers maybe can target a back in the draft. Maybe Najee Harris is a free agent. I mean, he's weird. He's had 4 straight 1,000-yard seasons, but he's barely getting to 1,000. To me, he's definition of mediocre running back. They should move on. I would sign up at Nick Chubb and probably draft somebody in the middle rounds. That's how I would do if I was the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, next is my top 32 quarterbacks from this NFL season. My top 32 quarterbacks from this past season. Starting with 32. I did a tie for 32. I did Drew Lock / Daniel Jones. These guys were both just very inept. Jones was horrible. He was atrocious, because, as we all knew. And then he got benched and then cut. And Drew Lock was horrible. I did a tie. I did include guys like Tommy DeVito and Jameis Winston and Joe Flacco and Andy Dalton, guys who just played a handful of games after an injury or poor play. So I did include guys like that. But I put Drew Lock. He played in down the stretch. He was their quarterback for the most part when he was healthy. So those 2 guys were just very, very inept. I put them at 32. At 31st, I put Deshaun Watson. This guy was just dreadful. Was horrible, absolutely horrible. And then tears his Achilles. He just tore it again. So I'm not played this upcoming season. Deshaun Watson, what a disaster from the off the field stuff. Giving up 3 first-round picks for him, give him $230 million guaranteed. And he's only given them, I think, something like he's only played 17 or 18 games for them, and he's been really bad in that span. He's been a bottom 5 quarterback in the league in that span. They have not been a good team in that span, and they've paid him probably over $100 million. So it's just embarrassing. It's really a shame. The Browns are just stuck in just perfect now. No Miles Garrett wants out. They're in trouble. Deshaun Watson is just freaking just horrible. At 30, I put Anthony Richardson. I thought he was a talented kid coming out, and they haven't done a great job developing him. He was not ready to start. It was obvious from the start, and they started in week 1. 2 years ago, he gets hurt, misses the whole season. This year, they throw him back out there. They benched him, they didn't, they benched him again, and then they completely mishandled him. How Shane Steichen and Chris Barrett still have jobs, but still, this guy is also the most inaccurate quarterback in the history of the NFL. The guy has just been atrocious. He looked a tiny bit better after the benching down the stretch last year, maybe a smidge, but he's not the best for sure. He's looked horrible. Maybe in year 3 he turns it around, but they gotta bring in another veteran. Whether it's Joe Flacco again or Jameis Winston, somebody needs to get in there because he is just not cutting it right now. He's staring major bust in the face. 29 is Will Levis. Look, Will Levis is funny. There's a lot of very funny pictures of him on the internet, but he's not good at what he's doing. I never understood the hype with him. He was never good at any level. He wasn't this 5-star recruit coming out of high school. He wasn't that good in college. He went to freaking Kentucky for football. He wasn't that great. He's got a talented arm, but it never really blew me away. He was always very just erratic. He was just always a bad decision maker. He never screamed just true great leader. I mean, the guy puts mayo in his coffee. Let's start with that. He's very memeable because he puts mayo in his coffee, and the whole thing. The footage from the draft where it seemed like he was with a different woman every single time, and the funny pictures and videos on the internet. But he's very bad, and the Titans need to move on from him. He was benched twice for Mason Rudolph this past season for a reason. 28, I put Aiden O'Connell. He's just not a starter in this league. Maybe I'd take him as a second or a third string, but he's just not a starter in this league. He wasn't that good at Purdue. He played quarterback at Purdue. Purdue football since Drew Brees left, which was like 20 years ago, hasn't been even relevant, or even close to it. So, took him in the 4th round, and he hasn't shown anything. Oh, too bad, so sad. The Raiders need something else at quarterback. I don't think it's Shedeur Sanders with the 6th pick, but certainly isn't Aiden O'Connell ladder because he is not good. Was he better than Gardner Minshew? I mean, I guess, but he's not very good. At 27, I put Caleb Williams. Y'all know how I feel about Caleb Williams. I think I was a massive mistake taking 1st overall by the Bears last year. His numbers don't look horrible, but just, I don't think the coaching staff even trusted him to throw the ball more than he did, although they played, Shea Waldron was a terrible offensive coordinator. Obviously, Eberflus was a horrible head coach. Now they got Ben Johnson. See how that goes, but he holds on to the ball for way too long, and he's a little bit erratic at times. Look, he's still really young, but to go into that situation, and the offense looks that bad under him, it shouldn't have looked that bad. Okay, look at the weapons that he has. I get the O-line wasn't great, but also he held onto the ball for so long, okay? The line wasn't great. It needs work, especially in pass protection, but it wasn't like 68 sacks, most of the league bad. I didn't think it was that bad. 26 took Bryce Young. He started out really bad, but down the stretch, after, returning from the benching, played a lot better. They got to give him some more help, for sure, in that receiving core. It helped, having probably a little bit of a better coach for him. The organization was a little more stable last year. Yeah, better running game, a little bit better protection, but just didn't really have much of a receiving core, and his defense couldn't stop anybody either. But he did look better. I was not sold on him coming out, so I'm not going to be sold on him now, obviously. But Bryce Young, I have him at 26. He looked a little better. He did play better down the stretch. He had some games down the stretch where he was like, you know what? He actually kind of balled a couple of games down the stretch. Still had some stinkers here and there, but he did have some good games. 25th, I have Kirk Cousins. He's going to be cut or traded. I don't see what this guy has left. The beginning of the season, he did play well for the Falcons, and apparently he was playing through some injuries. He was coming off a torn Achilles already, and but he was just so dreadful down the stretch. His last 5 games, he had 1 touchdown against 9 interceptions, something like that, and then he was replaced by Michael Penix. I don't think the guy's anything left. He's 37 years old. He was, for the most part, not very good last year. From weeks 3 through maybe 10 or something, he was pretty good. But the first game or two, he looked really bad, and then the last 5 games he played, he looked really bad. For the most part, he was not good last year. 24, but Trevor Lawrence, obviously, he was relieved by Mac Jones in the second half of the year, but he played the most games, so I put him over to Mac Jones. He wasn't great. He wasn't great either. Jacksonville is a mess. They haven't done a great job building around them, but also, this guy's supposed to be a generational talent. He's played with a lot of talented players. Brian Thomas this year, Christian Kirk, who was hurt this year, but in the past first couple of years, he's a guy you had, Evan Engram. E18's a horrible running back, and he's looked pretty mediocre for the most part. He's looked very mediocre at times, and I'm really starting to doubt whether or not he's the generational talent that people said he was coming out of Clemson. It's hard to pick out why he's not, but he just hasn't. His numbers just don't show it. But they gave him $270 million to play where they see it, but I haven't really seen it yet. Right from the get-go, he just doesn't have that it factor. Even when the Urban Meyer stuff was obviously, throwing anybody in that situation results wouldn't have been too different. And just the setup that he's been given isn't great, but there's also just been a lot of throws where it's just been I don't care who's coaching the team, who owns the team. That was just terrible, dude. What are you doing? So, T-Bill's at 24. At 23, I have Dak Prescott. He was not that good before he got hurt. Again, I know he got hurt, but what do you have, 11 touchdowns and 8 picks before he got hurt? Dak is, if he has a good offensive line and some good weapons, he can be a decent quarterback. Win you some games in regular season. He'll throw for a bunch of yards, but come playoff time, don't trust him. He's a mediocre quarterback. To me, he's a bit overrated. People try and put him in the same realm as these franchise guys in the top 10 conversations. Get him out of there. I don't even have him like that, 11, 12, 13 conversation. He's a 15 to 18 guy at best for me. Last year, I had him the 10th, 11th quarterback going into the year because of how bad the quarterback play was the year before, and it wasn't much better this year. But this year, he just wasn't that good. At 22, I have Tua. I think Dak is a better quarterback than Tua. But this past year, I had Tua ahead of Dak. I think he was slightly better. He missed a lot of times with the concussions. I really think he should retire at this point. Obviously, it's sticky. He just got his contract, that huge contract. But which I don't understand why Miami did that. I get if young dudes are like, what the hell do you do? Figure it out, honestly. Because this guy is another overrated quarterback. He's mediocre as it gets. Again, an offense like that, okay, he can, he'll throw for a bunch of yards, and he'll win you a few games in the regular season with help. But, once playoff time comes, he needs to elevate his team. No chance. Dak and Tua are very similar in the aspect of whenever their team wins, all right, they may have been part of it, but they weren't the main reason. Whenever they lose, it's because of them. If they just go out there and just play fine, all right, they're able to win some games, but, when they need to play just even more than fine, they're not able to do it, and they're the car one, and they cost their team, so. Tua is at 22. At 21st, I put Derek Carr. He wasn't horrible. Carr is, he's a serviceable starter. He's a guy, you put him on he's been on a lot of bad teams. Those Raider teams weren't able to stop anybody defensively, didn't have great coaching. The Saints were a mess when he got there. But he's basically, to me, the guy who is like, I'm going to be good enough to make your just awful organization look somewhat competent to the point where, this guy is a decent quarterback. Let's pay him a lot of money. And once he gets back, he's like, oh, yeah, I'm done. Yeah, I'm done. I don't care anymore. That's never card to me. He's never, ever, ever going to sniff a Super Bowl. But could he do worse? Yeah, but he also do a lot better. He's a serviceable starter to me at this point, especially at this point in his career. He's getting older and injuries are piling up. At 20, I put Drake May. He's going to be a lot higher in this list next year. I think that's pretty self-explanatory. Just his numbers, obviously, 2,200 yards, 15 tutties, and 10 picks or anything crazy. But he was a rookie on a really bad team last year. Now he's got a much better coach. Probably a better coordinator. McDaniels is not a bad offensive coordinator. And then, he should have a better team. Patriots have all the assets in the world to improve a team. So, for now, I put him at 20 based on what he did last year. 19, I put Russell Wilson. He did play somewhat okay for a while. But then towards the end, he really struggled down the stretch and was very bad in that playoff game against the Baltimore Ravens. Last year, so overall, he was serviceable last year. I think that's about as good as he's going to get. Serviceable in that same category as, Derek Carr at this point in his career. 18, I put Aaron Rodgers. Man, the quarterback plays in the NFL is not what it once was. If Aaron Rodgers played like that, 10 years ago, he would have been the 7th or 8th worst in the league. The fact that he's almost a league average quarterback, I have him as almost league average quarterback, shows you a lot. I get his numbers don't look horrible. 63% of his passes completed, 3,800 yards, 26 or 28 ties and 11 picks. But you gotta remember, he had 6 chances to go down and tie in the game late in games, and he didn't do it. He cost him that game against Minnesota, cost him a game against Seattle. He can't move anymore. He brings extra drama that isn't needed. He's, at this point in his career, maybe if he has an elite offensive line, he can be a serviceable starter, but that's about as far as I would go with him. 17 is Kyler Murray. I don't get what people see in this guy. I was going to put this guy lower, but I was just like, is he really worse than Aaron Rodgers at this point in Rodgers' career? Russ, the same thing. He probably had a slightly better year than Drake May. May is obviously a way better quarterback long term. Carr, Tua, Dak missed a lot of time. Lawrence and they didn't say anything. The other guys were really bad for the most part. I'm at 17. This is about as don't see him getting much higher. He's a very mediocre quarterback, very overrated. He's overpaid. I think they should move on. He's not that good of an arm. He's erratic, not a great decision maker, not a very good leader. Although he's a bad guy, but he's not a very good leader. His heart's just not in it. He wants to play Call of Duty, not studying film. I don't see it with this guy. I don't get why people think, oh, he's gonna be elite this year. He's gonna be elite this year. No, he's not. Okay, he's not. I mean, the guy he should have went and played baseball. Full guaranteed money. He was the 7th pick in the draft by Oklahoma. He hit 300 at Oklahoma. He chose the wrong sport. I'm sorry, Kyler. You chose the wrong sport. You're not that good at this football thing. You're much better at baseball. You should have done that. At 16, I put Bo Nix. I think Bo played very well. 4,100 yards. He had almost 4,000 yards and 29 touchdowns as a rookie. That's really good, especially considering his only true weapon was Courtland Sutton. Didn't have much of a run game. He played really well. I get, a little up and down, and he struggled against the Bills in the playoff game, but overall, I thought he played very well. I think the future is very bright for Bo Nix. 15 is Brock Purdy. Look, he didn't have a great year, especially with how talented the team is. However, Deebo missed a couple of games. Kittle missed a couple of games. McCaffrey missed pretty much the whole year. Ayuk missed pretty much the whole year. Ricky Pearson missed a lot of time. He had a lot of injuries. The year before, he played really well. Look, I get it. Purdy's not an elite quarterback. He's a product of the guys around him. However, he could do worse than Brock Purdy. He's a perfectly league average quarterback. 14, I put Geno Smith. Look, he's looked better than he was with the Jets for sure, but he's not an elite quarterback by any means. But he's a decent starter. He's got a good. You put a team like that, like he has in Seattle, he can make some plays for you, and he has. He's a decent starter. He was pretty good last year. I think Seattle should probably upgrade sooner rather than later, but it'll be interesting to see what Seattle does with him. You know, because with the contract situation that they have, but he's a pretty good quarterback. 13th is Baker Mayfield. Like he had a good year last year. He had over 40 touchdowns. Threw for, I think he was like second in the league in yards. They throw the ball so much, so his stats get a little bit inflated. You know, late in games, whenever he needed to really make a big like hero play, like his numbers kind of suggest that he had been doing all season. When even though he wasn't able to do it. You saw what happened in that playoff game. But he has definitely rejuvenated his career since getting out of Cleveland. He's matured a lot off the field. He's become a much better leader. He's been much better just quarterback overall. And I don't see him ever being an elite guy, but he can be in like this, you know, 12 to 15 range for pretty much his whole career. He's a good quarterback, I would say. Not a great one, but a good one. Number 12 is Matthew Stafford. And numbers don't jump up the page, but he's getting older. He's 37 years old. He's basically a statue, but he's still a good quarterback. He can't play through injuries the way he once did, but this guy is still tough as now. He's still a very good quarterback. He's better than a lot of the quarterbacks in the league still. He's still very good. I overall thought he had a good year last year. Number 11, I put C.J. Stroud, who did regress in his second year. I think a lot of it was because that offensive line was so bad this year. A lot of injuries. You know, Diggs missed a lot of time. Collins missed time. He had a lot of injuries. And I think if Texans are, continue to add to their offense and they're healthier, I guess he's Stroud having a bounce back year and being the guy that he was in his rookie year, if not even better. That guy has stud written all over him. He did play well in the playoffs as well. So I think the future is bright for Stroud despite the regression in year 2. Top 10. Number 10, I put Jordan Love. Look, I'm not a fan of Love. I think he's a bit overrated. He's got that crazy stat like in Toyota-thon when like Toyota-thon's going on. I like the car place. Like he's got like 28 tutties against like 2 picks, but he's got like the same amount of tutties as interceptions when like it's not Toyota-thon. It's wild. In all seriousness, he's a good quarterback. I don't know why they gave that guy $220 million for one good half season, but he had a decent year. He's got to work on those turnovers. He's got to cut those down. I mean, he fits well in Green Bay because he basically looks like Brett Favre 2.0. But he's a good quarterback, but I wouldn't say a great one. Number 9 was Sam Darnold. Look, I don't see him ever being like truly elite. In the game for the 1 seed against the Lions, he was horrible. And in the playoff game against the Rams, he was horrible. But he overall had a really good year. 4,300 yards and 35 touchdowns. He had a really good season. He's going to make a lot of money this offseason. He's definitely a starter in this league. Look what happens when you get the clutches of the Jets and the Panthers. Look what happens. And, he's turned himself into a starting quarterback in this league. Number 8 is Jared Goff. Again, Goff, will he ever win a Super Bowl? I don't know. He hasn't been able to get it done yet, but he's turned himself into a very good quarterback. He's played really well for the Lions. Another strong year, like 4,800 yards. That team is really good. The offense is very talented, but Jared Goff is a very good quarterback. Number 7 is Justin Herbert. Again, I get it. Like, he's a hypothetical man. He hasn't got done in the playoffs, but this kid is really good. You can do way worse than him. He's a really good quarterback. He just needs one more true receiver, I think. I don't think he'll be on a level as like Josh Allen or Mahomes or Burrow or Lamar Jackson, but just below them, I think he'll sit there for a while. He's a really good quarterback. Number 6 is Jaden Daniels. I mean, the guy had, to me, the best rookie season the quarterback's ever had. That guy was incredible. I even consider them putting him a little higher. The sky's the limit for this kid. This kid's going to be great for a long time. Number 5 is Jalen Hurts. So this one was a little bit tough for me to rank. I was like, I've bashed him a bunch in the past. I'm not a fan of his. But he did play really well in the back half of the season. He played well in the playoffs. He played well in the Super Bowl MVP. He's not. I don't think he's as good. I think the gap between Allen, Lamar, Mahomes, and Burrow, however, what do you want to put those guys in, is pretty substantial from the guys like, Jane Daniels I think will be in that category pretty soon. To be honest, Stroud could be, even Justin Herbert maybe could be. But from those guys like Jalen Hurts, maybe Justin Herbert, Jared Goff is very substantial. But Hurts in like that second tier is I think at the very, very top of it for the most part. He's a very good leader. He's a good quarterback. He's, you could do a lot worse. He's a good leader. He's won everywhere he's been. He won a lot of games in the regular season in Alabama. He got benched in Cincinnati, and they didn't actually start playing well in that game until they put Tua in, but he got them there. He won a lot of games in Oklahoma. Since he, became a starter for the Eagles, he got them to the playoffs, to the Super Bowl, and now they lost the Super Bowl, and now they won the Super Bowl. He hasn't been in the league that long. So the guy's a winner, great leader. He's he's better than most of the quarterbacks in the league. Is he the fifth most talented quarterback in the league? No, but I think right now he's, just not just based off pure talent, the fifth best quarterback in the league. I mean, the guy just won a Super Bowl. And, you look at the numbers. Yes, that team is stacked. It's loaded, but they don't lie. He played very well down the stretch for the Philadelphia Eagles. At 4, I'm going to put Joe Burrow. He had an amazing year. 400 yards and 42 touchdowns, like 7 picks. The guy was incredible. The O-line wasn't great, and just they had maybe the worst defense in the league. He had a couple of games where he turned the ball over more than he should have. But also, he's got to score 40 points every game to even give his team a shot. So, to me, he is an elite quarterback. He stayed healthy, thankfully. His aura is gone since he dyed his hair, but he is an elite quarterback. Number 3, this one was tough. I put Pat Mahomes at 3. So, look, Mahomes is great. I still think he's still one of the greatest of all time. I think he's one of the 5 or 6, 7 greatest quarterbacks of all time. I think he'll at the very least he'll be there when his career ends. And heading into the Super Bowl, or at least into his playoffs, I thought it's gonna have to take a while for me to really consider not putting him at 1. But to be fair, he did have a bit of a down year. What do you have? 3,600 yards, 20 tutties, and 11 picks. A lot of injuries, so it wasn't all on him, but he did have a bit of a down year. He did play very bad in that Super Bowl. So I took him down just a smidge to 3. At 2, I put Lamar Jackson. The guy was incredible. 41 tutties against 4 picks. Plus ran for over 800 yards. Playoffs, again, he has not been very good. He did not play well in that playoff game. I know he made some big plays towards the end, but overall didn't play great. He's not been good in the postseason. And so that's why it kind of hurts me to put him ahead of Mahomes, because Mahomes won 3 Super Bowls and Lamar's got 3 playoff wins. He's 3-5 in the playoffs, but the guy just simply had a better year than Mahomes this year. And number 1 is Josh Allen. The guy won MVP again. I get he lost to Mahomes, and at the end of that game, he did not do enough, but he did play well in that game. He's overall played well in the playoffs. The guy was amazing this year. I put him 1. I put him at 1. I think he deserves to be the best quarterback in the NFL from this past season. All right, that's all I got for you guys today. Until next time, so long. Have a great day.